On this episode,
I don't really know exactly when that moment was. She never told me, but she, yeah. My grandma always knew I was gay. She's like, I knew you're gay when the first time I saw you throw a ball. She was
from the coveted corner booth in a little bar at the center of the Coachella Valley universe, welcome to another Big Conversation with Patrick Evans and Randy Florence, presented by the McCallum Theater. Visit McCallumTheater.org or reach the box office at 760-340-2787. Gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Howard. We are back here at Skip Page's Little Bar in the Corner booth. I'm Patrick Evans. I'm joined by my co-host and good friend and sidekick, Randy Florence. How are you, Randy?
I'm great. I'm just looking at the walls in depth for one of the first times. Metallica.
After 112 episodes.
112 episodes.
You've been sitting
Holy cow.
in this booth for 2.5 years.
This is a music theme, isn't it?
Skip was an amazing producer. And, of course, we've got John McMullen, our producer. Speaking of producers, how are you, John? He's nodding. We want to give a shout-out to the McCallum Theater, gearing up for an incredible season. McCallumTheater.org. Go there right now and get your season tickets. Many of the shows that you want to see are going to be down to just a very few tickets. They sell out very quick. Cummings?
Not Burton Cummings.
Burton. Well, his
Unless
friends.
You know him.
I get to call him Bert.
Okay.
So, like, when we hang out, he said, please call me Bert.
Yeah, and tell Randy to stay away.
That's not. He didn't use your name, which I thought was rude. This is Big Conversations Little Bar, and I'm really excited about our guest today. He's a gentleman who lives here in Palm Springs, but he is, you were actually, Craig Jester's our guest today, and he is an actor, a screenwriter, a director. Your dad was in the band Whiskey, which I think is very cool.
I think that's very cool.
I mean, that's just a very, very cool, like, that's the way to start life.
That's right,
you were bound for show business. Welcome, Craig.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. My dad was in the band Whiskey, and he was a rock star. And they did covers for, like Rolling on the River and stuff like that in the 70s. But my mom was a born-again Christian, so I grew up with like a rocker dad and like a born-again Christian mom.
That must have been a very interesting relationship.
It really describes me in a nutshell. They're like really horrible or really, really religious.
And how long into your life was your dad still playing music?
He got like a real job when I was like, when I was probably like 7 or 8.
Nestle's?
Nestle's, yeah.
Because
did your homework. Okay, yeah, that's right.
So how did the...
Well, extensive research. Our research department for Big Conversation really sucks up the vast majority of our resources.
This is like 60 minutes, I know.
It is.
It's going to get worse.
And Randy is a lot like Morley Safer.
Dead. So
Can't say that.
Oh, okay.
Jeez.
My question is, because I found this interesting and I read the story about your dad moving and taking this job. You're in a household with a rocker, and all of a sudden you're in a household with a corporate employee. How did things kind of change, or did they?
I mean, it was more like, we had more money, so that was a big thing. We had a house. When he was in a rock band, we lived in El Monte in like a guest house behind a Mexican family, and our landlord's name was Mr. Bean, and we lived in like a tiny little shack. I mean, it was really, really small. And then when he got his job in Nestle, we actually moved to like we moved to Dallas. My dad was transferred to Dallas, and we lived in like a nice suburban house. And so, but my dad had sleeves on. He had like tattoos in the 70s, like before they were the thing, you know. He was like he was really like rock and roll. He had like sideburns, and he had like sleeves. And so when he got his corporate job at Nestle, it was like a problem because he wanted to be taken seriously. So he always had to wear like really long sleeve shirts, and yeah, we had to go to like a company picnic. It was like, what do I do? You know.
Oh, so, man.
Yeah. Don't get tattoos. That's
Did music always stay in his life?
Mm-hmm. I have one tattoo.
Oh, is that Star Trek?
It is my Star Trek
cool.
tattoo, yeah.
But it's an important tattoo.
It is.
If you're only going to have one, that's one of the ones.
The guy who told me, he said, "Are you sure you want to do it? Because after it's done, it will live long and prosper." Sorry, that's terrible.
Because they do. Tattoos live. They are forever.
They are forever.
People don't think about that.
They are forever.
They don't always look the same down the road.
No.
That's why I didn't get one, because I was like, I didn't want to be like...
You have no tattoos?
No, because, when you're... like, you don't want to be like your dad, because your dads aren't cool, so like that's something your dad does,
That's hilarious because like most kids rebel and get a tattoo.
I had the opposite.
Dad. That's funny. My dad had sleeves. I can't get a tattoo. I'm never doing that.
With some other man's name, just to prove to your dad I don't care.
So you moved to Dallas, and that was really your formative years.
When I was 12, yeah.
Yeah.
So puberty in Texas, yeah. But yeah.
That sounds like
was fun.
a book.
That was fun.
Sounds like
being a gay kid in Texas in 1978 and 12 years. Yeah.
All right, so you were 12 years old. Did you know you were gay at 12?
I didn't really know. I mean, I knew I liked to hang out with girls first. So I had like a lot of.
But I did too.
Right. So so that could be, But I was also my mom was really religious, so. Well, one time we were watching like the Carol Burnett show, and the Harvey Korman was in a dress, and I was like, I think I was like 7 years old. I'm like, what's gay? Because I'd heard about, and my mom was like, well, gays are a bunch of men that go into a room together and they poop in their hands and they throw it at each other and they eat it off each other. And I was like, what?
Wow.
And she had been to like an awareness seminar where. And this guy came to their church and said, here's the evil gay lifestyle. And they told him all this horrible stuff. And I didn't think I was gay because I didn't want to do that.
So it took nobody me like only monkeys want to do that. That's. Was she not watching National Geographic? Did she confuse that? Like,
no,
that's not gay people. That's monkeys.
I didn't know I was gay for a long time because I did not want to do that. So yeah.
Yeah. No one would.
Did you ever repeat that story to
It's
anybody?
in my book. I wrote a memoir in 2003 called Why the Long Face, and it's one of the stories in the book that it's a fan favorite. That's probably why I just told it.
We have to talk about Why the Long Face because you had a congenital condition.
Yeah.
That the lower portion of your face would continue to grow.
Yeah, when I looked like a normal kid, and then when I hit 12, around when we moved to Texas, my face started to grow deformed, started to grow down instead of forward. So I didn't have a lower chin. My chin was by my Adam's apple, and my cheeks were down like on my neck. So I had a really long face, and I had a lot of pain from every time I'd open my talk or whatever, I hear like a popping in my joint. So, and my teeth came in crooked and were sideways, and it was like I looked like a sock puppet with pimples. Like it was really bad. And so when I was 16, we were at church, and this guy came up to my mom, and he's like, "He's got long face syndrome. I can help him." So he referred us to this doctor named Dr. Sin, S-I-N-N. We were Christians, and Dr. Sin was
you went to Dr. Sin.
Yeah. And so we went to, so when I
grew up to throw poop at people.
Well, Adam and Steve is, but I.
We'll get there.
Okay,
We'll get there.
So I had to wait till I was 18 for my bones to stop growing so we could fix my face. And I was the whole next 2 years, I was like, just get through this, I'm going to get your face fixed. So I had massive reconstruction on my lower jaw, a little bit of my upper jaw, the roof of my mouth so my teeth could fit in. And it was like a year of surgeries and recuperating on my mom's couch. And then I had like a totally new face, and I was handsome, and I moved to New York.
You are very handsome. It worked out well. Yeah. Give me the name of your guy.
Dr. Sin.
Oh, you did?
He actually just retired.
Oh.
He actually just retired.
Man, this is a story of my life.
He's like 89 now.
So you moved to a new state, a new area, and this challenge comes on. How were other kids dealing with you?
I was either bullied but mostly ignored. I think that's why I became like a writer and an actor, because I was always like, I was never really included, so I just observed everybody all the time. But I never thought I could be an actor because of my face, because it just wasn't going to happen. So I started writing in high school just because I was creative. And would write like short stories. And my dad got me like a Commodore 64 computer, which was a big deal at the time.
It's a big deal. And the all-in-one computer, right there.
Yeah. And then when my face got fixed, I was like, oh, I can be an actor. And then I moved to New York, and I was.
And you did a play that was written by Joanne Woodward.
Yeah.
And she saw you in it.
No, she actually cast me in it.
Oh, she cast you in it.
Yeah, I dated this guy who was at Sarah Lawrence College. In like 1988, his name is Chris, and I moved to be like a campus wife. I was just in New York. It was just like, you're young, you're like, whatever, I'll do this, sure, why not? And so I was living in Bronxville, New York, and Joanne Woodward had gone back to college in her 50s to get her history degree. And so because it was Sarah Lawrence, and she was in a playwriting class, and she wrote this play called The Lover, which was based on Beatrice Lilly, who had Alzheimer's. And it was really about Beatrice Lilly's gay husband, who is the character that I played. And so Joanne, because there were so few boys at Sarah Lawrence, I got to audition for the plays because I was like a campus wife and it was like open auditions. So I went to the audition, I got the part. It was a 2-person play, so I got to know her really well and spent a lot of time with her. And went to New York City, and I met Paul Newman, and spent time in their place on Central Park. You know, it was really. I was like 22, I think, and they were like my first real mentors. Like they were, and I'm so glad they were because they were really down to earth, you know, and very, you know, they just were like not. But their place was great because like there was every single surface of the wall had like a photograph because Paul was a photographer. And so it'd be like them with like, you know, Marilyn Monroe or Montgomery Clift, and you're just like, what's going on?
All right, you said the magic words.
Montgomery Clift.
We have to talk about this. We're going to get back to Joanne Woodward and I guess Paul Newman were both very encouraging of your acting career.
Joanne was mostly, but yeah.
Not Paul. What?
Well, I mean, he. I would just see him in the kitchen, and so we didn't like hang out that much. You know.
Was he making
salad
sauce?
dressing?
Actually, his fridge was full of all of his products. Like,
That's great.
all of his products were in his fridge. Yeah.
Makes sense.
But their daughter Cleo was my age, so I was they were really supportive.
I got to know Paul's brother who lived out here
Oh, cool.
for a very long time. Patty Newman's husband, who's since deceased, but that's a different story. So you mentioned Montgomery Clift. You have been haunted by Montgomery Clift. Do you claim?
Well, other people told me this. I didn't. The 2 psychics told me this. Yeah.
Oh. Well, why did Montgomery Clift choose you?
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
So I believe that was
We'll
him.
edit that out.
That was Montgomery Clift.
That was Montgomery
trying
Clift.
to shut you up.
No, I went to. I mean, I went to see a psychic, and I made Adam and Steve, and
In 2005.
Yes, and I was approached by these agents in Hollywood that I lived in New York. They wanted me to come out and be like and get jobs as a director of comedies, and I didn't really think about doing that. I just made a movie with my friends. I wasn't thinking about using it as a way to go to LA. So my friend was like, "You got to go see this psychic. She does readings for Chris Cooper." And I'm like, "I like Chris Cooper." So I go to the psychic. Her name was Reverend Catherine, and she and I'm just talking to her about, like, what agent do I sign with? Just asking her. I've never been to a psychic before. Just tell me what to do. I just want someone to tell me what to do. Do I go to L.A.? And she was, like, you know, looking over my shoulder the whole time. And she's like, there's a dead spirit of a dead actor around you. He's been around you your whole life. And since you were like 19 or something. And you're going to make a film about this man someday. And he's one of your guides or whatever. And she's like, you know, I don't know. I recognize his face, but I don't remember his name. He's handsome and he's gay. And I know he's gay. So I'm like, is it Rock Hudson? Is it
Tab Hunter?
Tab? Well, he was still alive, but
Tab was still alive,
Yeah.
of course.
but I'm like,
I
is it-
interviewed Tab. He would have still been alive.
but I was like, is it Rock Hudson? Is it Anthony Perkins? Is it like, you know? And I finally said Montgomery Clift, and she's like, oh, he's jumping up and down, saying, that's me, I'm Montgomery Clift. So she starts telling me this, and we're having like
He
this.
was in on the conversation.
He was standing
behind
behind me, supposedly. She could see him, but and so she told me all this stuff for like 45 minutes about like how I was gonna, you know, we had these two different. We've had like he had a face thing too, like he had a car accident in 1956 going leaving Liz Taylor's house, and his face was damaged, and so she's like, you're having this reverse life in reverse, and I was openly gay. He was famously closeted, and I was doing gay movies, and so he was like sort of guiding me. So I didn't believe it. I thought it was like whatever, a gay guy comes in and she's like, Montgomery Clift, you know. So I leave
Tab
there.
Hunter was
Yeah,
still
right.
alive.
She like Googled me, you know. Yeah. So I went to LA, and I flew out to LA, signed with an agent, started taking meetings, and when I was there, my dad wanted me to meet this business partner of his, this guy Sam, and his wife Joanne, who lived in Orange County, and they weren't Hollywood at all. So I went to dinner with this couple that just to make my dad happy. Like, you know, he was in the food business, and while we're talking, they're asking me who's gay in Hollywood, and I start saying, well, you know, Kevin Spacey and Jodie Foster. They were like, no. This is before that came out, you know. And
That one was pretty obvious, though.
I know, but they were scandalized. But I was like, But I was like,
I didn't know Montgomery Clift was gay until you said it, so I'm feeling kind of scandalized.
So it just was like
or Anthony Perkins. Anthony Perkins?
Yeah.
What else are you going to... No, I'm kidding.
My destroy and my ruin.
No, you're not at all.
So I'm saying, I was always been gay people in Hollywood, just like Tony Perkins and blah, 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 Rock Hudson, Montgomery Clift. And when I said Montgomery Clift, this guy, Sam's wife, goes like, that's the guy standing, that's him, the guy. I'm like, what? She's a psychic, which I did not know. She's like, when you came in, there was a presence with you, and that's who it is. It's Montgomery Clift. Yeah.
Now I just got chills.
Me too. And I was like, it was like a month after I'd seen a lady in New York. So I was like, do you know this lady? Do you know this woman named Reverend Catherine? I'm like, what? It was really freaked me out.
How close are you with your haunting? Because I would love to have Montgomery Clift on the podcast. That would be amazing.
Well, you are right now, I think.
That's true.
I mean,
who are we talking to?
He's got to be sitting between you and John.
He's right. I don't know. I forgot which shoulder he's over. So
okay.
Sorry. I don't know which director.
He's probably sitting where Lucy Arnaz was at that point. Right
could direct your questions over my shoulder. But I went through this crazy thing where I became obsessed with Montgomery Clift. I started meeting his friends.
Well, you're supposed to make a movie about him.
Yeah, and so I started researching, making a movie about him, and then I got so consumed by it that I started sort of ignoring my own life, and my boyfriend dumped me. Like I was competing with, he was competing with like a ghost, because I was so focused on this the whole time. I was kind of obsessed because it was a magical, crazy thing. It was like this crazy magic carpet ride I was on.
This is the real life story that Kevin Spiritos did on his miniseries. Kevin Spiritos.
Yeah, I know.
Do you know Kevin?
Yeah.
He did it. He's done a show. The last season was just on.
Oh, yeah.
And, his partner had died.
Right.
And, he's in the dating world, but his partner's, still there.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So that's funny. You're competing with Montgomery, your boyfriend's competing with Montgomery Clift.
Yeah,
that's
tough competition.
Circling back to previous guests on Big Conversation.
Good callback.
Little Bar. What is it? Big Conversation, Little Bar. How many episodes have we done? And I don't remember the name of the... Anyway. So you got kind of obsessed. You went down a rabbit hole with Montgomery Clift.
Yeah, it was a little black swan. Not that intense, but it was a little black swan.
So how did you break out of that?
So I just sort of took a step back, and then I sort of just got focused on work and doing. I started working in television as a writer and got a job on True Blood and started working on these shows.
Season 7?
Yeah, so that became I just got busy, and so that helped me kind of shift out of it. But I still want to work on, I still want to write about this. I want to write about what I'm talking about.
When is the movie coming out?
Yeah, this movie?
Montgomery Clift.
I haven't done this yet. I've been
hologram.
Who would play Montgomery Clift?
There's an actor named Finn Wittrock who I think would be great. Finn Wittrock.
I don't know.
He's really. I've actually met him, and he wants to play Monty. He's obsessed with my Monty story. He was Judy Garland's husband in the Judy Garland movie with Renee Zellweger.
Oh,
and
okay.
he's done a lot of stuff. He's really talented.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. So your acting debut in feature films was Swoon.
Yes.
It's a very interesting. Some might say a little controversial film.
Very controversial, yeah.
Very.
Yeah. What
was controversial about it?
Well, it came out in 1992, and it's about Leopold and Loeb, which is the 100th. Yeah.
It's kind of the retelling of that story.
Yes, but the story had always been told through the point of view where they left out the fact that they were lovers was always taken out of.
Right.
There were movies like the movie Rope. It sort of hinted at that, and other movies like Compulsion, but that part of their story was always removed. And so what the director wanted to do, Tom Kalin, was make it more accurate to history, which is that they were homosexual, and so and that was a big part of their trial and their defense too. That they were Clarence Darrow was their defense attorney, and he said because they're homosexual they are insane, so they're not responsible for what they're doing, and that was his defense, was that they were homosexual. So Tom and Christine Vachon, who produced it, created this. They told the story from that point of view, from that angle, and it became part of this sort of nuclear cinema, which was sort of that year at Sundance, where it was sort of like gay people's blaxploitation period, where we were making movies about ourselves and taking on negative role models and making them empowered. So that's what when the movie came out, it was right when Basic Instinct came out, there was all this controversy about bisexual killer lady and negative images of gays and positive role model images of gays, and so we got caught up in all that. And there were protests, and GLAAD came out against the movie, even though we were all gay that made the movie, and so it was
because they're considered negative role models.
Well, we kill a 12-year-old child in the movie.
Yeah.
But that's other than that.
Don't do that in the sequel.
I don't think
aside
there's
from the child killing.
Part 2.
Part 2.
Part 2.
Swoon Again. That's coming out.
So I want to go back because
we can't laugh at that. I'm sorry.
I haven't left this yet.
Are you still on Montgomery Clift?
When did you figure out that they weren't throwing poop in the rooms? How old were you?
I was probably 16.
Okay.
Yeah. But I fell in love with this guy, Vernon, who was in my high school, in my church choir.
And you were still, this is pre-surgery, so.
Yes. Yeah.
Romantic.
It wasn't really reciprocated.
Yeah, it would be challenging.
Yeah. But I just had my first puppy love crush on someone, and and I knew innately that it was nothing wrong with it. I didn't, even though I was really in this religious world, I knew that it was pure and good, and so I that's when I realized, this is what that is.
You've always worked as a gay actor, an actor who's gay.
Yeah.
Which, as I was doing a little research, it said it was unusual.
Yes, 1992.
Yeah, in the early 90s, late 80s, it would be unusual. Well, first of all, I'm curious. How did your mother take that?
My mom came to Sundance with me when Swoon was there, and I knew she was very, very freaked out about the gay thing. I didn't come out till I was 24, and I had to because I was in this movie, and I was in Us magazine and
in Swoon.
Yeah, because the movie was coming out, and I knew it was going to be this big gay thing, and we did a lot. There was so much press about that movie. I was in an interview, and there was all this publicity around it. She was in
so you kind of felt you had no choice, but like
kind of but this is coming out. I knew it was going to come out in like a really big way too. She'd have to be, and so I came out to her in like a JCPenney and
JCPenney,
yeah, at the mall, yeah, in Dallas. And
that may be a first. Maybe
in Dallas.
Are they still around even? I don't know.
I don't know.
Not anymore. You finished them off. Way to go.
So, you've mentioned a couple times your mom was very religious.
Yeah.
So, to kind of walk me through this.
She was. Okay, we were in a JCPenney, and I had a roommate at the time named Brian. And
who was actually your boyfriend?
Yes. And when they came through New York on their way to Ireland once, and they stayed with us for a day, and they saw that we had one bed. So, but they never talked about it, But then we were looking at bedspreads, and my mom was like, "Do you think?" And it was when the Santa Fe thing was in. That whole Santa Fe thing was like Santa Fe, so 80s. And she's looking at the Santa Fe bedspread. She's like, "Do you think Brian would like this bedspread?" I'm like, I'm like, "Yeah, he likes that Santa Fe thing." And she's like, "Let's go get a Coke in the food court." So we went to the food court.
So she knew.
She knew. She was waiting. Yeah. And so then we had to talk, and she just, back then people were so ignorant about it. She's like, "Well, did you just something I did?" Or there was a lot of she was like, very, back then people there weren't the same amount of images that we have now. So a lot of my job was
Did she ask about if you were throwing poop at him? No. She had gotten over that.
I think she forgot that.
Okay, good.
Then, yeah.
Thank God.
I never did, but I'm sure she did.
Well, I never will either.
Yeah, and you never will either.
Randy's been dabbling. That may put him off.
I'm done.
I'm done, yeah.
So Randy, there's a backstory there. Randy's been taking acting class. You know Terry Ray.
Yeah.
So, and you were the only straight guy in the class. Is that correct?
I still am. Yeah.
I don't know. There's only two straight guys in Palm Springs, I think.
Well, and I still am.
They actually banished me to Cathedral City. I have to live in Cathedral. I can visit Palm Springs, but it's just because the sales
show
tax.
Your card as you're going in. Yeah.
Right. So we've been giving Randy a hard time about that because he's been doing interesting roles in the class, but then Terry secretly said to me, he's like, we've almost got him over. So,
one day I came in wearing a matching cap and coat and tennis shoes, and Terry looked at me and says, 2 months. 2 months, we got you.
So he could be in Swoon 2 with you.
Yeah, doing an Adam and Steve sequel.
All right, so your mom knew when you came out to your mom. So she had obviously kind of reconciled it at some point in her own head.
Yeah, I don't really know exactly when that moment was. She never told me, but she, yeah. My grandma always knew I was gay. She's like, I knew you're gay when the first time I saw you throw a ball. She was,
at least it was a ball.
and she's like, instead of a hissy fit.
First time I saw you throw poop, I knew you were gay.
I don't even know how this podcast got here today.
Her name was Gay too. My grandma's name was Gay. Galen. She'd be like, "Hi, I'm gay," and everyone would start laughing.
So, since your mom knew, I mean, like, I'm assuming that it went a little better than maybe you thought it would.
Yeah, I mean, and then she came to Sundance with me, and when she saw me with like other gay people, she's like, "Oh, it's like not a big deal.
No one's throwing poop. Everything's fine."
We've developed a team.
Didn't shake hands with a lot of people for a while.
You'll put somebody's eye out.
So that became like, so then she was like, and then she'd be like, "Craig, when I go to the bank, there are gays everywhere." She started, but she just had to be I had to be patient with her, because that's,
There are gays everywhere.
Well, because she's like, I never noticed them before. Once she knew how to spot them,
I've lived in the desert for 22 years. And before that, I lived in Laguna Beach for a while when I was in Orange County. And so, these are kind of bubbles.
Right.
Where nobody really cares.
Right.
Gay or straight or whatever. It's just kind of funny. I mean, I grew up in the South, in Charlottesville, but Charlottesville is a university town.
Yeah.
And it's still a very progressive place. And I went to Roanoke, Virginia, which was a lot more conservative.
Yeah.
But interestingly, in Roanoke, if you grew up in southern Virginia, there was only one big city to go to, and if you were gay, you went to that city.
Right.
Because you couldn't live in this little town.
Yeah.
And so it just doesn't it's just funny to me, like, oh, they're gays everywhere. The line cracks me up.
Well, Texas especially,
Yeah.
So
Texas.
after Swoon, where'd you go from there?
Well, I came out.
And by the way, your first nomination came from Swoon, right?
Yeah. Harvey Keitel beat me.
Harvey.
Well,
damn him for Bad Lieutenant.
Oh, Bad Lieutenant.
Yeah.
Well, that was a pretty good.
Yeah, that was like a.
It wasn't Reservoir
Dogs. That was his big tour de force. So yeah.
Yeah.
But so then I was, because I was openly gay at the inception of my career. It did hurt. It did hurt me, because normally if I was like just any old actor that was up for a Spirit Award, I'd be sort of on the next fire. I've been on fire, like getting jobs and because I was out. I was signed with William Morris, but they didn't really know what to do with me, because I was in this weird, dark gay movie. So I was up for some parts. I got to meet like Martin Scorsese. Met me. I got to know him. Mike Nichols, and I got to people wanted to have meetings with me, so I got to like meet my heroes, which is great. And then I just started doing other movies. Like almost every year I made a movie that went to Sundance for like 8 years. And one of them was Kiss Me Guido, which is playing this Thursday in Palm Springs.
What is it?
Kiss Me Guido.
Kiss Me Guido.
A gay comedy, yeah. And so I then I did a TV movie with Diana Ross. I just did, I just was like a working actor. And
how long was it before you felt it wasn't holding your career back?
Oh, right away.
Oh,
right away, because I yeah, it's like a big thing that because at the time, I remember I went to Melissa Etheridge's house after the Spirit Awards. I went with my friend Lisa Lo Cicero, and like Brad Pitt was there, and Dermot Mulroney.
Wow.
Who we looked a lot like when we were younger. We met in the kitchen. We started laughing. We looked like brothers. And then
I could see that. I could see that.
Yeah. We just sat around, and Melissa Etheridge played like the guitar, with singing like Delta Dawn with Sepp Lowry. Like it was really, really
That's
great.
a pretty cool night.
It was a pretty cool night. That's the night of the Spirit Awards.
Wow.
So then I went at the time the Swing came out, I was temping, and I was stuffing envelopes for Universal at the Jurassic Park premiere, like to invite to the premiere of Jurassic Park. And I would be like in Movie Line magazine or some magazine, and one of my secretaries would be like, "This is you." Like, why are you here? This is like the story of my life. Like, no money, but like famous. You know?
That's right.
Can't need fame, but it's nice when you.
So I was out by the pool with Brad Pitt, and we were smoking, and he was like, and I didn't win. He was presented an award that he's like, "I'm sorry I didn't win." And I said, yeah, it's so weird because I got to go back to my temp job tomorrow. And I just wish I could make a living at it like you do. And he was like, "I wish someone would nominate me for an award."
Really?
Instead of being like then he did go on to.
He's done okay.
But Ellen DeGeneres was there too, and she was before she was famous.
It was before she was out.
Yeah, and we sat by a fireplace, and she was asking me about what it's like to be out and have I experienced discrimination, things like that. And we had a conversation about it. But back then, it was such a weird thing to do that I was sort of like this. And because I'd been involved in gay rights and activism and AIDS activism, I was just very like silence equals death, and I was very like rebellious.
Yeah.
But it just gave me a more interesting career. I think even though I didn't go on and become like a big star.
But what a moment. Ellen DeGeneres, prior to coming out, asking you how it was coming out.
Yeah.
That's
something. And Brad Pitt just expressing
yeah.
that he really wanted to be nominated for something.
And then
I think he ended up
other
okay.
than just being pretty.
This before he was taken seriously, but he did become taken seriously.
Yes.
Yeah. He's really sweet.
Let's talk. So, but all of this led up to Adam and Steve.
Yes. So then so what happened is I got asked to write a book for St. Martin's Press because I was an openly gay actor, and so that was like my thing, my brand, I guess. And so they asked me. I was at a dinner party telling these stories like what we're talking about right now, these stories, and this guy Michael Connor was like, "You should,
write a book."
Yeah. So I wrote a book. And the book is about, it sort of started out about being openly gay and telling funny stories, and then it expanded when they found out about my face and everything. It's expanded to this, yeah.
And that became Why the Long Face.
Yeah. So I wrote this book, and then I became like a writer, and then because of that, I got my writer's chops. So then I started writing Adam and Steve, and that was sort of when everything kind of came together with like my acting and my writing, and I wound up directing the movie and it just was like, it was like me making a movie with my friends in New York. And I've been in so many gay movies that were so like dark and tortured and, like just horrible things. And I was always like in the corners with a razor blade to my wrist or something. And so I wanted to make like a funny...
Like your play, Randy.
Ooh, it's a comedy.
You can do a comedy next. You'll want to do that.
So but directing, obviously important as well. I mean, here's something you wrote, it, and then you get to act in it, but also direct it. Talk a little bit about that experience.
Well, I didn't really want to direct it.
No? Who did you want to direct it?
Well, there was a few directors we met with, and then the director that we had they backed out like 2 weeks before the movie started. And so I stepped in sort of last minute just because I wrote it, like you said, and I was sort of felt organic, like the right thing to do, and it worked out. But it was also like there was a lot of choreography in the movie. There's a big dance number in the movie, so I was having to like learn how to do this crazy dance routine while also preparing to direct a movie. It was so much work, and I just remember being like overwhelmed a lot. But I had like the great thing about making a movie like that is that people sort of step in and they sort of if you're like they're like Malcolm would direct a scene basically, like just like it's got to be like, because I was but then since then I've learned so much. It was a great learning experience.
But you've got Chris Kattan, Parker Posey. I mean, was there ever a moment where something goofy wasn't going on the set?
It was well, it's just an independent film, so like there were days when we'd be in our location, like we have to leave, we just lost the location. Like, it was very like indie film, like, oh, okay. And then Parker
these people want their house back.
Yeah. We lost the location. Steve's apartment in the movie, we lost the location the day and Melinda Dillon was on the set that day, who played Steve's mom. Amazing, Close Encounters, like,
yep,
who I like idolized. She was like, I was directing her, and we lost the set. And I'm like, don't tell Melinda Dillon we lost the set location. So, and then the guy who owned the complex of where we were shooting was like, listen, we'll let you stay if Parker will come down and do this like promotional thing for our complex. So being a true, she wasn't even on set that day. She was at an Airbnb, whatever they called it, an Airbnb. And so Parker, being the amazing trooper that she was, came down to set. It was downtown LA, and she sat with a DJ and like signed autographs and smiled for pictures like for 4 or 5 hours, so that we could stay in our location.
She's remarkable.
She's amazing. Yeah.
She was she just fantastic to work with?
Well, we were been friends for many years. Like we've known each other since 1992, before she was famous. She went to college with my co-star in Swoon, which is how we met. And we have the same birthday, so like we've always had our birthdays together, and the characters in Adam and Steve are basically just our relationship in real life. Like there's no acting going on. And I wrote the part for her because she was like, her character in the movie is like she's really overweight in the beginning. She loses all the weight. She's a stand-up comedian, but all of her best jokes are fat jokes. So she's lost all the good material. So she's still telling her fat jokes, but they don't make sense.
Nobody gets
she's skinny, right?
That's so cool.
That's fantastic.
Like, I'm so fat, I put mayonnaise on an aspirin. Like no one's laughing. And so.
That's a good joke.
That is a good joke.
I mean, if a fat comedian tells that joke, that's funny.
Louis Anderson telling that.
Louis Anderson jumped in it.
She's like, I want to play a woman who laughs at her own jokes, and so I just wrote that part for her. That's how it works. So.
That's so great.
And Chris Kattan is amazing. And,
Have you worked with her since?
We've done 3 movies together, actually. Yeah,
really?
Yeah. That was the last one we did together. This was like in the 90s, but.
Well, there's been discussions of a sequel.
Yes.
And you started work on that.
Yes, we're actually shooting it. We're going to be shooting soon. We're shooting, actually December 7th, we're shooting for one day at the Christmas parade. We're going into production for one day because in the first movie there's a crazy country western dance-off. And because we're older and gay, now there's a crazy tap dancing number in the movie.
And you're going to be tap dancing?
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
I already do, but.
I'm just going to throw this out there. Do you need a weather guy in the movie?
Yes. I already thought about this, actually.
Like,
you can play yourself, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm really good at it.
He's got that character down.
Yeah. Because I've thought about it, because I am a big fan of yours, so. Oops. I am. So there's the Christmas parade, and so we're going to production for one day to shoot this sequence. And then we start filming in May. The rest of it, the principal photography.
I'm available for all of that. I don't even.
Any weekday or weekend, you're pretty much available.
Have you ever done hosted it like on the TV and stuff, or?
Not that parade.
Okay.
I've hosted other parades.
Okay, because I think
over the year and stuff like that. Yeah, I've done. And I do the film festival every year.
Right.
So, do a lot of red carpet interviews, but.
Well, you'll have to audition and play yourself. Though,
okay, I will audition. No one else wants to play me.
I know somebody else that I'd like to suggest to audition for that part. He's an interesting woman.
Who else would play me?
Nobody could play
Come on.
you. Nobody could play
See?
you. Nobody.
That's true.
So, I mean, Don Knotts could play you.
Don Knotts.
But he's no longer with us.
Oh.
Damn it. Mr. Limpet.
So this circles back to the Terry Ray acting. Isn't that what Terry Ray?
That's what Terry Ray. I had a Barney Fife quality.
Yeah, Barney Fife quality.
That's such I've never heard. Barney Fife quality is like a thing. Yeah.
It's a good thing. I mean, it's a good thing.
Well, I am demure.
Oh, God. Did that just show up?
Last week.
I just found out today what that was about. I've been hearing about it for a week. But
I've been here.
See, this is how we know that we're not of that generation anymore.
Oh my God, I know. I know.
Like I had to Google why is everybody talking about Demure? and I used to be like, but 20 years ago, I'd be the first one making a joke about Demure.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, when she was married to Bruce Willis, she was really hot.
That's
Demure Moore.
We are going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, the McCallum Theater. Remember, you can get your tickets at McCallumTheater.org. They are our presenting sponsor of Big Conversations Little Bar, the McCallum Theater.
The McCallum Theater's 2024-2025 season is on sale now. The world's top artists, from jazz, pop, classical, and comedy to the best of Broadway. Only at the Valley's favorite place for great entertainment. Tickets are on sale now at the McCallum Theater box office, by phone, or online at mccallumtheater.org. Tickets sell quickly, so order yours today. A new, exciting season only at the McCallum. The McCallum Theater's 2024-2025 season is on sale now.
Thank you guys very much at the McCallum Theater. We appreciate your support. And I think they're going to particularly love this episode.
I do.
Craig is amazing.
Oh, God.
This has been fantastic
No,
so far.
This is a lot of fun.
I'm having fun, too.
Are you?
By the way, you can't see them, but they both have really cool shirts on. I like your shirts a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That's so much better than the one gentleman who we had
who did not
who
like your shirt.
Sat down, and the first words out of his mouth was, "I don't like your shirt."
What? Who was that?
And
was it Larry?
It was Jason Stewart.
Oh, Jason
And we
Stewart.
had 45 minutes to go after that.
She's very opinionated, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, she's got a lot of opinions.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's talk more about the sequel because, all right, beyond planning stage, you know you're going to start shooting. You got a day of shooting in December, and then you go into full production next spring.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Because it's expensive to shoot here in peak season to house the crew and everybody. So yeah. It's like a 24-day shoot.
And are you directing?
Yes. This time I'm prepared. I'm going to have time to prepare, though. So more than 2 weeks.
I'm going to know what to do this time. It worked out last time.
Yeah.
Everybody calls it a cult classic. I mean, you have such a following of that film.
Yeah, it's sort of just it made the leap to streaming, which is like the big thing we want to do. Like, because I've had movies that were so great that just like died, never made it to streaming. But yeah, there's like still get emails from like 21-year-olds.
What do you think about that movie? Allows it to transcend and do that. What's the magic in Adam and Steve?
I think it's a funny, sweet. I think it has a good spirit. I think it's got a good spirit. Like there's something about it that it captures, and it's also the spirit of what was on the set, because you can't really fake that. You know, it's such a labor of love, and there's a lot of like joy in it in some ways, and I think that people, when we had the screening of it last year at the Mary Pickford, people were commenting on that because it's really not that dated too. I thought it'd be more dated, but it's just, and I'm thinking about that writing a sequel about don't put this thing so dated, because you have to think about stuff. But I think it has a good heart, and it's also like a gay movie that's not about bitchy queens, and it's sincere. It's a very I think the tone of the movie is very unique to what it is, and that's something that I didn't really think about when we were making it, but that's when people relate to it and plug into it. It's got a good spirit.
Well, I'm excited about the sequel. What made you move to Palm Springs, or what made you decide to do that?
I was living in when I lived in LA. I worked for television for 12 or 13 years, which is where I made most of my money and got my pension and all Writers Guild stuff. But so I lived in LA, and whenever I'd have writer's block on a TV show or whatever I was working on, I would come to Palm Springs to clear my head. I'd come out, I'd stay at like this place called Hope Springs in Desert Hot Springs, because Michael Patrick King, I heard, wrote Six in the City there, so I went there, and I would stay at the Ace or something, and so I just would come out here for that, and then I would wind up. So whenever I needed, when in 2019 I was looking for a place to go, and so I decided to come to Palm Springs.
I want to talk about 2019.
Yeah, we have to get to the rapid round, but before we do, and I know, and Randy brought this up when we were talking about this podcast. You spent, was it a year?
6 months. 6 months.
Yeah. As you were homeless.
Homeless in my car. Yeah.
What led to that? And what got you through it?
What led to it was I was living on Beechwood Drive in Hollywood Hills. I had like a big house, I lived in like a castle, basically a condo. This place called the Chateau Beechwood.
I know exactly. My wife and I live. She lives in L.A. She was redoing the house. We lived. She rented an apartment on Beechwood.
No way.
Oh yeah.
You showed me the Beechwood Harry Styles place.
Yeah.
Beechwood Cafe.
Oh my God. I used to go there all the time.
We did too. Yeah.
That was like my right.
It's a great neighborhood. I mean, a
love it there,
quintessential Hollywood neighborhood.
I love it.
You go to Birds.
Yeah.
You're right down the street.
Yeah. That was like my. And the little market up there, and that was like my. Yeah.
You paid
that was
$47 for a bottle of $12 wine.
Exactly.
But you needed it. It was open.
Yeah.
All right. So you were living on Beechwood.
I lived there for 7 years in this place, and I worked on this show. I worked on True Blood. I worked on this show called Insatiable for Netflix, which was on for 2 seasons. When I was on the first season, and then whenever you're like a writer in television, when the strike happened, like we all learned like how little TV writers actually make. You think they're making so much money, but especially these 10 episode seasons, with cable. So I was doing well, but like again, it was like, are you in this movie? The lady I'm attending with. So I'm living well. I'm living okay, and I have this place, but it didn't work for like I had a health thing, and it didn't work for like 2 years, and so I was living on my savings. I'm sort of running out because when you work in television, you get a job, and then it can be like a couple of years to you're freelance. You get another job. So I started to get low on money, and then and I also like I was a sober person for 14 years, and I wound up relapsing. So that's part of my story, which is kind of cliche, I guess. But I wound up. So I was just having a lot of struggles in my life, and I started to get low on money, and then the ceiling in my condo collapsed.
Apartment collapsed.
Yeah, the roof came down, and from the ceiling and the bottom floor came down.
Oh my God!
And it was just covered. Everything was destroyed, and they found that there was asbestos in the air ducts, so everyone had to leave really quickly. And so I put the day they were supposed to move out. I was going to move across the street. This is how it happens. This is how homelessness happens. It's like it's something that's happening outside of me. Like this thing happened, that thing happened, this thing happened. Just like watching these dominoes fall, and you're like, now I'm looking at my car. It was sort of like that fast. The ceiling collapsed, so then I had to move. I found a place right across the street. This like studio that I didn't like, but it was right across the street. It was the easiest move in the world. I went and got it, and then the night before, the guy who owned it changed his mind and wanted to rent it to his daughters. But I had movers coming the next day, and nowhere to put my furniture. So I moved everything into storage, and it'd be out June 3rd. And so I put stuff in storage, and then I got a hotel, and then like 3 days into it, I tripped in. I would stop by a 7-Eleven parking lot to buy a can opener for my dog for dog food because he didn't have a kitchen anymore. So I'm like, I got this can opener. As I'm walking out of the 7-Eleven, I tripped and broke my right foot in 3 places. So I had these tennis shoes that were really bendy, and I broke my foot in 3 places. And I wound up driving myself to the hospital with my left foot, and they were like, "You need surgery in like 4 to 6 weeks of bed rest." And I was like, "I don't have a bed." It just started. This thing happened, and I had a soft cast on my leg and crutches, and I had
like a cascade.
It was just like this crazy thing that happened. Where suddenly, and so then I was like, didn't want to spend money on a hotel. From the hotel, I found this other roommate situation with this guy in Hollywood who I didn't know that well, who I didn't really want to move in with, and so through a friend. So I went to this guy's place. I gave him like all my money, which was like I had like $6,000 or $7,000 left, and their rent was like $1,500. I gave him $4,500 first last security, and so I moved in there with him. He collected Matchbox cars everywhere, and I had a dog, and there was like crutches, and he didn't really want me to live there. And so like 2 weeks later, he threw me out. He changed his mind, and he kept all my money. And that's how I became, and he kept my TV, and that's how I became homeless.
Holy cow.
It was just like that. And then once you're in that situation, like, and people, like, I'm living in LA, like, it's not a great place to have a problem in Los Angeles, So I was sort of reaching out to people, but people were busy, and plus I wasn't really sober at the time. That wasn't what's going on in this situation, but I sort of lost touch with people. I was very busy with my career, and then I was busy, and then I was working so much that I just sort of lost touch with people. So my family lived in Florida at this point, so there was no family around, and there's usually 3 things that happen when someone becomes homeless. One is like an illness, your family's poor, or your friends are mad at you. Like, that's really common. So then I wound up like going, well, I'll just do this for a week or 2, and it'd be fine. I have a Prius, it's fine.
I'll be okay.
It's good on gas, and So then I slept. I'm like, it's not that. I slept in my car. I'm like, it's not that bad. It's fine with my dog. And then I started aggressively looking for places to live. Like, I'm filling out applications, going to places, and sleeping in my car at night. And I also because I was successful, I didn't want people to know that this was happening to me because I wanted to seem cool. I wanted people to not know that. I wanted to keep it a secret.
Right, you didn't want to have the taint of that.
No, not at all. No, because I really thought this is just going to be a couple weeks. So if I'd gone on Facebook and been like, hey, I need a place to sleep, 20, 100 people would have asked them to let me come. But because I still thought I could keep it together and this is just a kooky, weird thing happening to me. But then after a couple of weeks, things started happening. I had this injury. I wasn't getting sleep, and you start to start to get swept away by this river, this current.
Go a little crazy.
Yeah, and then scary, and people trying to break into the car. It was very, and then after a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, you start to become kind of mentally ill from the experience, and then I started, doing drugs again to try and stay awake because that was the thing everyone was doing. I made friends when I was homeless. Other people that I run into people that I knew actually, weirdly, at the storage unit, someone I knew was there, and it's you're homeless, and I had no idea this guy was homeless. I knew him for a couple of years, and he was homeless, and he showed me how to do it and how to rearrange my storage unit to let it be a walk-in closet. It was a whole thing I got to learn, and
this is a whole underground lifestyle.
It's a whole community of people. It's especially I was at Gower and Franklin, right in the belly of the Hollywood homeless thing. And this is in 2019 too, before it became a thing. It wasn't really in the news that much. It's just starting to be. Now it's a big deal. But so I just started hanging out with these people and all different kinds of people. And I couldn't get to Florida to be with my mom because my right foot was broken and I couldn't push the gas pedal. So it was all these things that played into it. And so I wound up just sort of drifting in, and then after a month, I just was completely gone. And then it took me so long to get. You always think it's about to end. Everyone that I talk to too, I meet so many people, and they'd be my cousin Vinny in Georgia has a basement. I'm gonna go. Everyone's got. You're always hearing about these potential things. You always feel it's about to end. It's always about to end. And then a month went by, and it's 2 months now, 3 months in.
And you did this for 6 months.
Yeah.
What pulled you out of it?
I went to Florida. I drove cross country with my left foot.
Wow.
Yeah. And I got there, and I was. And
later wrote a movie called My Left Foot. And it turned out to be a big hit.
Yeah, I won an Oscar.
Yeah. He's great.
No, this is going to be called My Right.
I don't remember the Prius in that movie. I don't know. Go ahead. Sorry.
So
he's a bad influence.
My dad was in memory care in Florida.
Oh my gosh!
And he had to leave because there was an issue with his Medicare. So I went there to help be with him, and so that's how I got out of it, and then so my family saved me. Yeah, and then it took me a long. Then my dad died, and then I was out of there again. I was back in my car, and there was a woman named Maxine who. So I was sort of meandering around in my car and
in Florida,
in Georgia. I was in a yarn barn parking lot in Georgia, and I remember this woman Maxine calling me and saying "Hey, you responded to my ad on Trulia for the house I'm renting in Palm Springs," and I was like, "I did." She's like, "Yeah, you." And I guess I forgot. I used to go into Trulia and daydream because I didn't have a playhouse. Oh, that one's nice. And so I guess I liked it at some point. And so she's like, the woman who rented my cottage in the movie colony, it's not working out, so do you want to come look at it? And I'm like, I'm in Georgia in a parking lot. And she's like, and then she actually knew of me because she knew who I was, I guess. And she was a TV writer. And so she's like, if you can drive cross country, you can have this place. So I drove 2 days straight. I stopped in Texas. I slept in a rest stop one day for one night in a hotel, and then I moved into this place, Tamarisk, and I also found out that I can collect my Writers Guild pension early, which I didn't. No one told me. I'd never have to be homeless. I could have done this from the day one, but no one mentioned it.
There's no handbook.
No,
on that.
There isn't. And so I just needed someone to just go Plus, when you're homeless, you don't you're so sleep deprived. Like when I see homeless people, I don't think, oh, they're hungry. There's plenty of food for homeless people. That's not a problem. It's just you never, ever, ever sleep. Like you never, because there's never safe. You can never just like have privacy.
So, but obviously, people did come to your rescue, and then you had a place to live.
The kindness of other people. That's what helped me. And then when I showed up at that place, I got up at Day Palm. It was such a big deal. It's like I'm not a dog, and I pulled in like at 4 a.m. And the neighbor Diane put like a bottle of Starbucks coffee in the fridge with like an apple, and it was like so humane and so nice. And it was this gorgeous place on Tamarisk. Like had a big backyard for my dog, and I lived there for a year. That's how I moved to Palm Springs.
And you got your sobriety back.
Yes, yeah. This is a great place to get sober. Palm Springs is a great recovery community, especially if you're gay.
That's why we invited you to a bar for the podcast.
Yes. Here we are.
This is just reminding me of how fun it is to be not sober.
That's right. I think we need to get into
It's time for the rapid round. Absolutely,
okay,
Randy.
Exactly.
It's time for the Big Conversations Little Bar Rapid Round. We ask our guests 5 key questions, and we want them to answer them all in under 2 minutes.
Oh, my God.
The Rapid Round is presented by Vitara Wellness, just a stone's throw from Little Bar at 74345 Highway 111 in Palm Desert. Vitara Wellness is your path to lasting weight loss success. Open Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Vitara Wellness offers medical weight loss services, IV vitamin and hydration therapy, hormone replacement therapy, and regenerative cell therapy. Transform your health, transform your life, and visit them online at Vitara. That's Vitara wellness.com. Live life well. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
I would love to be a journalist or a meteorologist, because I love the weather. You're both of those things.
Come live my life.
When I was in Texas, my dad got me like a NOAA weather radio when I was like 13, because I was obsessed with the weather, like obsessed. I know what a cumulus net cloud is. Like I know all that stuff. Seriously, that's what I wanted to be, as a meteorologist.
I'm continuing with the rapid round.
We have an opening. We'll discuss.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Thank you. If a movie were made of your life, who would play you?
Dermot Mulroney.
Just because you guys look alike.
That's right. You can only own one book. What would it be?
Oh, wow. The Unbearable Lightness of Being.
Oh, that's a great book.
It's updated.
How about the one movie?
A Place in the Sun with Elizabeth Taylor. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And on long drives, are you music, audiobooks, or podcasts?
I'm like a news junkie. I would have CNN or MSNBC on Sirius. That's what I was doing.
Here we go. That was our rapid round.
That was our rapid round. That's this week's rapid round presented by Vitara Wellness in Palm Desert. Visit VitaraWellness.com or call 760-208-4011. Have you gone over there and got some of their stuff?
I have.
Yeah?
I've been there a couple times. Cool. Plus, it's right next to Fresh Agave. Or agave. Or whatever they call that. You can tell I've been to Fresh Agave too many times.
That was just sparkling water you've been drinking, too.
I get to ask the one bonus round question.
Oh, bonus round question from John. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a rare moment when John actually participates.
It is. And this is only because...
You know Craig.
I know Craig, and I read Why the Long Face. In fact, that was the basis for our very first ever meeting at Sirius Satellite Radio in New York.
Which you sent us a picture of.
20 years ago,
I did.
Yeah.
And
you had red hair.
On my face, yes. And when I was getting ready for that interview, and I brought this up with Craig before, I actually got up and read the book just hours before I went to work that very early morning. And I literally rolled off of my sofa at multiple points because I was laughing so hard. I was afraid I was going to wake my partner up. He talks about one experience. He's mentioned several times that he was raised in this religious family. But one of the funniest stories in it was Homina Homina.
Yeah.
Would you mind sharing?
Sure. I went to church camp when I was 13. First time in Texas, church camp. And I was, obviously, my face was deformed and I was fairly unpopular, so I wanted to be cool. And like in youth group, like the cool kids like could speak in tongues. Like this guy, John Smith, shouldn't say his name.
Too late.
He wouldn't care. He was
boop. We'll put that in.
He was Mormon anyway, wasn't he?
Yeah, it's not a common name too, so that's why I'm worried.
No one will know who John Smith is.
So John was really good at speaking in tongues. Like he was kind of a show off. Like on Sunday nights in youth group, he'd be like habba habba. He could do it. It's a talent. So like I really wanted to compete with John. So like at church camp, we had like every night we'd have like a fire. It'd be like and we'd like burn books and records like ELO, like sinful music, satanic. I burned
Electric Light Orchestra was sinful.
Yeah. Satanic, Fleetwood Mac, Devil Worship.
Well, of course.
Yeah. And so I was like, tonight's the night. I'm going to speak in tongues. I'm gonna just write a passage, and the kids are gonna think I'm cool. I'm gonna speak in tongues. So it was down there. Everyone's praying. It's like it's like fundamentals. It's crazy. And I was just like, and so I could feel it coming up, like the Holy Spirit. So then, but all I could think of to say was habada habada, and I just said that over and over again, and then no one believed me. It was not a convincing performance. And kids walked away, and habada. It's sort of a Jackie Gleason in a way.
It worked for him.
Yeah. But it's like this, if someone who really speaks in tongues, it's like it's an art form.
And habada.
No,
that's not part of it.
I'm going to have to believe you on that. Never experienced it.
What an hour this was, huh?
It's a full meal.
There's a lot to unpack here. First of all, thank you for just being so candid.
Oh, and then thank you for having me on.
Yeah, I will say we always ask guests: is there anything you don't want to talk about? And many people say, no, I'm an open book. And then every once in a while somebody will say, oh, don't do this or don't do that. But Craig is like, no, you can talk about anything.
And I'm glad he did. Because tremendous conversation.
Great episode. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks.
And I'm glad you didn't just do habada for the whole thing. That would have been a disaster.
But we may have a habada podcast.
Thank you so much to our listeners for joining us. Thank you to the McCallum Theater for being our presenting sponsor. Thank you to Vitara Wellness for sponsoring the Rapid Round. And thank you to John McMullen, our producer, Craig Chester, our guest today, and Randy, you did a fantastic job.
Thank you. I can come back next time?
I didn't go that far. Take it easy.
2 more months. 2 more months, Randy.
I'll send
2 more months.
There's an email coming out. Well,
2 more months to know how to say guave.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a conversation John and I have to have in post.
I'll be back.
Of course he'll be back. And you hopefully will be back. You can subscribe to our podcast. And, of course, you can listen to it on your favorite podcast platform, be that Apple, Spotify, wherever you can find podcasts. You can find Big Conversations, Little Bar, and we will be back next time with another fascinating episode.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Big Conversations, Little Bar. Recorded on location at Skip Page's Little Bar in Palm Desert, California, the center of the Coachella Valley universe. And presented by the McCallum Theater, online at McCallumTheater.org. This program is a production of the Mutual Broadcasting System. All episodes are available from BigConversationsLittleBar.com and most major podcast portals, including Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Spotify.